Hey, did you miss me? It's been a while. It's actually been over 3 months, but who's counting? So I'm back from the dead. I'm literally back from the dead. And if you don't know, that's because you don't follow my TikTok. But I'm back. I might not upload as frequent as I used to, but I'm going to upload more frequently than I was in the last 3 months. The purpose of the video is to update on a tool that we purchased, I think back in, well, we didn't purchase it first. Back in January, DeepSpar gave us a review unit of the USB stabilizer in Gardonics. At that point, I've only used it for a short period of time, so I couldn't really give it a proper review. Now it's been over a year, and I've been using it quite often, and for a lot of different jobs. So I found different ways that it helped in many different jobs. So I have some dead eMMCs or failing eMMCs. I have some failing USB drives, and it's also good for hard drives, but I'm going to focus more on flash and for the USB stabilizer, where it helped quite a bit. I have two eMMCs. One was failing, but it wasn't too bad, but it was failing enough so it wasn't reading in Linux. And I have another one it's in rough shape. And I have a USB drive that doesn't show up in Windows or Linux, but when you plug it into USB stabilizer, it works quite well. So anyways, enough with the talking. Let's get into it. Let's look at the USB stabilizer and let's see how it helped me with different jobs. So here's the USB stabilizer. Yes, it is in a Gardonics enclosure, but it's got the USB stabilizer firmware on the unit itself. So the Gardonics is the forensic version, which I think is limited. It can't really handle bad sectors and failing media, but we have the USB stabilizer firmware flashed on here, so let's pretend this is the USB stabilizer. Right? Well, it is. Let's not pretend, but just ignore the Gardonics portion. So what we have here, we have this Lexar USB. Oh, I'm dropping it. So this Lexar USB, I've tried it in Linux, I tried it in Windows, and I tried it in another system. And every time you plug it in, sometimes it shows up, sometimes it doesn't show up. When you try to read it, it times out. Try DD Rescue, didn't work. So eventually, I figured, let me try USB stabilizer, and the USB stabilizer was able to read it without a problem. Next one is this eMMC chip. So this eMMC chip, let's see if I can focus here. So this eMMC chip, this is the super thin one. So these get easily damaged during lifts, and sometimes they fail because they're eMMCs and they're old. So there's wear and tear on the eMMC itself. So eventually they stop working. So when you plug it into, for example, you want to use DD Rescue on Linux, you want to image it, it will not work. I tried ruSolut using their eMMC option that can handle bad sectors, bad blocks. Didn't really work either. So I'll show you what Linux was showing me and how much we recover using Linux with DD Rescue versus what Gardonics was able to do. And this one requires some work, so we were using heat and cold, depending how it froze. Heat was helping when it was a short timeout, and cold would help and it was a long timeout. So that's this eMMC, and then there's this eMMC. This one is from another BlackBerry. Also another very important case. We need to get this data. So this one here, I'm going to show my screen capture in a minute. This one here is going to run for at least between 10 to 60 days. So I'm running it from USB stabilizer into PC2000 portable and then into data extractor PC2000. So let's go get the screen capture up, and then we're going to talk about these chips one by one. We're going to start with the Lexar USB first. Then we're going to move on to this failing eMMC that took about a day to read, and then the last thing we're going to talk about is this one that's going to take about 60 days to read. So before we go to the screen capture, I want to talk about what I've been up to in the last 3 months. So it's actually been longer than 3 months, but since December we've been offering iPhone unlocking on newer iPhones. So anything past iPhone 10 up to now iPhone 12, we're able to password unlock these devices. There will be a video coming on this eventually, probably sometimes in end of April or May. I'm just trying to work out the logistics of it because I can't show how it's done, unfortunately, because there is some limit of what we can show. But the work is done here in our lab. Nothing is being sent out. So that's all I'm going to say for now, but it's definitely possible. It is a brute force, so it takes time. We're going to talk about it in that video, and I'm going to show some of it how it's done. But because it's using specific exploit, I won't be able to show exactly how it's done. But we'll definitely show that iPhones can be unlocked and we offer this as a service. Now it's limited to specific clients, and we will require some legal paperwork, but we can do it now. Okay, so here we are in a computer that I have PC-3000 installed, and the USB panel for USB stabilizer. So I plugged in the Lexar, and now we're going to power it on, and you see right away it was detected and connected. When I did this in Linux, it would show up, but when you try to run DD Rescue, it would actually freeze at the very beginning, and then it would constantly freeze where it would just take forever to image. It will probably eventually image on the Linux machine, but it will lose a lot of data because every block on DD Rescue is not like a single sector with data extractor with USB stabilizer. It's a little bit different. It handles errors a little bit different. You can dial it down, but if I have better tools, why am I going to wasting time with DD Rescue when I can do it way quicker and way better? So we have it plugged in, we have it powered on. We're going to see that the capacity here. So we're going to make sure it's SSD. Speed optimization we're going to do off, and timeout, let's leave it at 8,000. We probably don't need such a long timeout, but let's leave it there anyways. And let's open our PC-3000. We're going to go straight to data extractor. We're going to start a new case. We call it YouTube dumps because I've already done this job, so I'm just making a fake folder here. And we're going to go to PC-3000. So what we're looking for here is there's the Lexar USB flash drive. So this is the one that's being reported to data extractor from the USB stabilizer. So we're going to choose that as our source, make data copy, and we can do file image, or we can image directly to another drive, or we have lots of different options. So, but we're going to do file image because we're only making an image. So we're going to go next, go okay. So you're going to see here the USB. So now the USB stabilizer is handling the Lexar and passing it over to PC-3000 portable. So you can see flash drive is found. So we can see if we can get the file structure here. We should be able to. And as you saw, as I'm trying to read the file structure, USB stabilizer is trying to read the USB, which is good. So let's give it a minute here. You can see it's a little bit slow. It's having some kind of slowdown here. Well, there's the file structure. So we can either just save the files now, we can build a map if you wanted to, or we can image the entire flash. So let's just pretend we gotta image the entire flash. So we're gonna hit start, and you see the flash is being imaged now. So it stopped. That means it's hitting a bad spot on the flash. You can see one failed, but it's moving. Like if you wanted to, we can probably change the block size. We can probably go down to 1 if that helps. You can see the flash is repowering right now to get it to read again. Now, once it gets past those first few spots, it will start reading it, and we're getting some decent speeds here. It seems kind of slow because I changed the block size, but let's increase it again. See what kind of speed we get. So again, we now have 2 failed blocks, so it's going to repower itself. Obviously, we can change the reset procedures. We can tell it to reset itself. It doesn't have to repower. It can do hardware reset. I don't know if it's that necessary for flash drives like Lexars or whatever to repower. It's not an SSD. Some SSDs will work if you repower and you start imaging. It will start imaging for a short period and repower will help again. I'm sure you've seen some of my videos where I talk about SSDs. But you can see now we're hitting some bad spots here. This yellow means it hasn't been able to read it. So let's see if we can read it. So if it does retry, that means it was able to retry and reread the bad spot on the flash. So you see that yellow that was there, it was actually able to read it. So this data is going directly to PC-3000 and it's reading. Okay, so we're gonna stop this because I've already covered this data, so I'm only doing this for the YouTube video at this point. So we can stop it, and we can power this because it's already powered off. Okay, so let's now plug in the the failing eMMC chip. Let's exit this. So now we have the eMMC, the second eMMC I was going to talk about, well, the first one. The one that wasn't too bad, but some heat helped. And I was able to read this entire eMMC. What's important with the BlackBerry is you need to have an entire image of the entire chip. You can't just read portions. You gotta image the entire chip. Only then Cellebrite can decode the data from the chip. So that's why it's so important for me to get entire image. So let's go in here, turn it on. We got 16 gigs. So before I do anything in PC3000, let me show you how Linux handled this particular eMMC. So here we go. Here's Linux. Let me just hide this for a second. So when I ran it with Linux, it ran for 68 hours. Out of 15 gigs of the entire eMMC, we only got 9 gigabytes because 5.7 gigs was unread. So you can see error transfer was almost 6 gigabytes. So when I ran this image through Cellebrite, there was a lot of missing data. Obviously not good enough for the client, so we had to find a better solution. I figured, why don't I try heating it while in USB stabilizer and see what happens. So let's get out of here. So we'll do a new case again. Okay, we're gonna put it in this folder. Again, I'm gonna choose the right USB, and then here we are. So we get the right size. There's no point looking at file structure. We can't see it. This is a BlackBerry chip, so we won't be able to see any file structure here. So what we have to do is, so I have my hot air ready in case we have to heat it. I was doing about 180 degrees. I think that's good enough. We don't want to put too much heat to the eMMC because now you're going to create errors. So it's going to be a fine line of heat versus what the chip can handle. So let's just start imaging here. So you see right now it's imaging pretty good. Let's look at the panel here. It's already hitting some errors, so it's already aborting here. But let's, I think this one, repower did help a little bit. So let's just put some heat to it. So now I'm heating it. Let me get my phone here so I can record this and we can add it in the video. So the heat should help. So here we are, we're heating the chip while trying to get it to reread. So there we go. See, the heat helped a little bit. It actually started reading. If I didn't apply heat, it actually wouldn't read at all. It would just sit there. Yeah, you can see it's stopped again. But there it is, it's going. So the end result with this chip, with PC3000, was 1,000 unread sectors. But they were these tiny little sectors. They weren't like these huge blocks that Linux is creating. It was actually able to read. We all pretty much had the entire chip. So when I put that image through Cellebrite, we got almost perfect recovery. The client was pretty happy versus what we had originally with the Linux dump. And also was good thing about using a combination of PC3000 and USB stabilizers. If I need to stop this to do another job, I can stop it. I can swap another drive in here or a flash drive, and I can do that drive, and I can resume this one at a later date, which is bit more difficult with DD Rescue or any other tool. Like even RStudio, you can't just resume where you left off. You might have to create another image from a different area that I know of. You have to start from another point and then recombine the images. But that's how it's done. So let's just stop this, shut this off, and go over to the last chip. The last chip that's giving me the most problems. So I'll just plug it in here, put some tape, give it power. So we see it here, 6.7 gigabytes. So it does identify it pretty quickly. Under Linux, when you plug it in, it doesn't identify it that fast. It takes about 10 seconds. But let's create the last case here. Actually, no, I don't have to create the last case. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna open one of my old cases. We're gonna open the actual case that I'm working on. This is an actual case I am working on. Okay, so I got it loaded. We're actually gonna continue this case. This case has been running for, I don't know, 2 days now. We're at 9%. So it's reporting to me that it's gonna take about anywhere from 10 days to 63 days. And sometimes it gets so slow, it actually says it's gonna take 445 days. I have to get this data. The client really needs this data. So whatever it's gotta take, it's gotta take. So anytime I need this system for something else, I have to take this chip off, do the other job, and then put it back on. Anytime the stabilizer is idle, if I'm not being used for anything, we'll just swap it. So let's continue, see where we're at. So we can see here we're at 8.93% in 2 days. Actually, no, it's been 48 hours. So at this point, it's been 48 hours. So not exactly. It won't be a quick process. I was talking to a friend of mine. You've seen him in my last video from last May when I went to see him about the Surface chip. Luke from Recovery Force. He's been running an SSD that I was showing in that video. He's still not done. He's about 20% in. And that's unfortunate thing that happens with data recovery. Some jobs are quick, some are slow. There's nothing to do about it. You just have to leave it running. And if the client's willing to wait, we're willing to run it if the channel is free. Before I go, let's look over here. We can see that we are hitting some bad spots here. Let me see what I have it set up. I have it set up to 120 block size reading. I can probably bring it down to 1, but it's going to be much slower. Let's see if that makes a difference. I think when I had it set to block size 1, it was even slower. So right now it's saying 530 days. That is a long time. Let's take it down to 128. That's not really improving. It's 510, 504. Yeah, we're just gonna leave it. And today's Friday, so we're gonna leave it running and see what we are on Monday. I'm gonna remote in here and there on the weekend and see how it's moving along. So that's gonna be it for this video. Just to sum it up, we were using USB stabilizer combined with PC-3000 to give us a very powerful method of recovering failing flash. This is only for flash that's still somewhat reading. I have a few other old cases. I'm going to be trying some eMMCs on here because damaging eMMCs during lift happens. You can be as careful as you want. Unfortunately, sometimes eMMCs don't take the heat. Sometimes the phones fail because of failing eMMCs. So it's already failed before you even start. But that's what happens. Anyways, thanks for watching. Thanks for waiting 3 months for me to upload another video. I'm going to try to be more regular with videos, if you know what I mean. Last 3 months, there was a lot of forensic cases. I also had that little thing that I almost died. So if you want to find out more about that, check my TikTok. I posted a video from the hospital, so you can see what happened there. See you next video.